Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to the DraftKings UCL DFS slate breakdown. Just coming off of that kind of super weird Arsenal UCL slate where they were the biggest favorites, won 1-0 through an own goal. It's a super bizarre day. But now we've got a Man City slate. This is almost as true a Man City slate as you can have. They're minus 1,000. I know that almost every other game has minus odds favorites, but like minus 200, not minus 1,000. And Man City feel like a lot more convincing minus 1,000 than Arsenal just because they are not afraid to pummel teams 3-4. Holland, Foden, not De Bruyne since he's out, but like they definitely feel like they could almost Sparta Praha here. Like I feel like it could really get ugly. But we'll talk about that more as we get into prices. As for projected lineups and set pieces for young boys, it should be mostly Greenwich with maybe Malish taking a thing or two. For Inter Milan, with Çalhanoğlu coming out injured last game, it should be a DiMarco monopoly. So that's super exciting there. For Atleti and Lille, should be mostly Griezmann, maybe Molina or De Paul take a thing or two. And for Lille, it should be a Gomez and Zagrova split. Barcelona Bayern, game of the week. Just probably not the game for DFS purposes just because it's so close, but for set pieces, it should be Rafinha Monopoly. Maybe Olmo takes one or two short. Same could be said about Pedri. For Bayern, it should be an Olise and Kimmich split. Maybe Guerrero takes a couple, but mostly Olise and Kimmich. Benfica Feyenoord, it should be Kochku and Di Maria. For Feyenoord, it should be mostly Inbom, I want to say. Maybe Paixão takes some. They don't really have a uniform set routine, so not a ton of fun there. Now for Man City, they don't have really a uniform set routine either, especially if it's this lineup. I expect maybe Grealish to split with one of Foden or Savinho. I think Savinho took the majority when they both played together last UCL game, but we've had an international break since then. Pep always is not afraid to mix up what he does. We could even see like a Foden monopoly maybe, or all kinds of crazy stuff. We don't know exactly what they end up lining up with, so you can't really play them for sets for certain set situations. You just kind of got to play just hoping that they get there even without sets. And if they have them, that's fantastic. And for Sparta Prague, it should be Haraslin and Kiernan, I want to say. For Mancevic, maybe takes one or two. Same with Lachi, but mostly Kiernan and Haraslin. For Leipzig and Liverpool, with David Raum still injured, it should be a Xavi Simons monopoly. And for Liverpool, as always, it is the fullback splitting in Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, or potentially Tsimikas if he's starting. So that's them. For Salzburg and Zagreb, it should be Glauc and I want to say Dagim, or could be Kiergaard potentially splitting, but Glauc and somebody will split. And for Zagreb, it should be, is Batterina injured? Interesting, they have no Batterina starting. I don't know if he's dealing with something, but without him, I expect it to be Misic and maybe Sucic splitting. I'm not 100% on that, frankly. And now let's just get into prices. All intent to. This seems underpriced to me. Like he could be like 11-8, like we saw with Mbappe today, like minus 300 to score, which is wild. Like Holland's probably lock here. I know he busted over the weekend, but nonetheless, I'm happy to go back to the well with this matchup and at this price point. I think Holland's a fantastic play. Likely going to be in my core. Griezmann, I like a lot as a player. I just think he's not a better play than Holland. He kind of screwed us last UCL game when he got subbed at halftime, bizarrely. So I think he's all right, just not a lock or anything. Rafinha thinks a tough matchup. I don't mind him in GPP, but other than that, I don't think I get there in cash. Same with Salah. Like all these kind of top end forwards, I think are playable in GPP. Just if you're going Holland in cash, that restricts you quite a bit, and it's tough to go multiple payups. But if you can get there, like I'm fine with any of the Griezmann, Rafinha, Kane, Salah. Like they're all right plays. Fabinho, I like a lot. I think that's probably a viable cash option. I don't see a world where Foden doesn't start, but if they somehow just Pep goes weird and doesn't play him despite not playing over the weekend, and Sabinho has another kind of similar script like he had last game, against Wolves and he had like 13 crosses or something, he could definitely just smash. And even if Foden is in, I'm super tempted by him too, just because there's not a guarantee that he won't end up taking anyway. Doku, I think, is fine. Got there last week or last weekend. And then mid-range, Lautaro, I think, is probably the best of it. He had a good game over the weekend, scored a goal, had like 8 shots or something, just had a lot of floor. I think he's in play. Like that's probably the best of the mid-range. Diaz, I think, is maybe okay, but don't love it. Pavlidis, I think, is an all right GPP play. Alvarez is pretty cheap. I don't mind that in GPP. Same with Nunez and Turam. But the best plays are obviously the pay ups here. Then as for punt forwards, there's not really anything I'm super in love with. I'd either go mid range or pay up likely. Midfielders, Foden's most expensive. I think there's a world where you can get away without playing him. Take a gamble on him not taking anything. Go with Savinho. Maybe go like a Gundogan or Grealish. I think Grealish could be super tempting here at 6,700. That's almost half the price of Foden, but still very much in play. Like if you can get to him, like it a lot. Elise, tough matchup. Di Maria, I don't mind. Once again, though, kind of expensive considering it is a Man City slate and there is Man City players you can get to for cheaper, like Gundogan if he starts. Grealish. I love Grealish if there's no Gundogan. Like he should have a share of sets, I feel like. Even if he doesn't, he's a cheap Man City attacker. And Gundogan, if he's in, I think almost certainly has sets. He's a little expensive, but I think he's still a great play. Xavi Simons, I think it's a tough matchup. I'd maybe get a share in GPP. And then after that, I'm trying to find plays I like. Coach Go, I think, is all right for 6K. Say Grove, I don't mind 5,700. Like Atleti are not a scary team right now to play. They give up chances. They're not afraid to kind of sit back, which obviously is better for your set piece takers opposing, just because there's more chance for them to get those. Just because even if Atleti are super favored, they'll still kind of play a similar way where they don't dominate the ball like a Man City does. Cabella, if he starts, I think is not bad. Just same logic as Zagrova. Szoboszlai is somehow like Connor Bradley at right back or something. Should mean Szoboszlai sets. I think that'd be a lock at 4,600. I think it's just pretty unlikely though. And Bacerina, if he's in, I don't think that's that bad. I just don't know why he wasn't projected. And then there's just not a ton else here. Like Angel Gomez at 3,400, I think is all right. That's probably the best of your cheap mids. There's not a ton. Misic is fine. I just don't think he has a ton of upside to him. That's kind of the downside of him. He'd take like a 10 if he somehow got that. But Salzburg is not the easiest matchup, but he could definitely do that against them. That's not that scary of a game, despite Salzburg being minus odds. Defenders, the big names for me are I'm ignoring like these first like three. They're all just non-play for me, frankly, even really in GPP for that much. DeMarco and Alexander-Arnold. Those are kind of the first guys I'm looking at. Simicast too, but I'm not sure if he plays. And even if he was, I'd still go with Trent or DeMarco over him. DeMarco's probably my favorite non-Man City play on the slate. Like I love that he likely has a monopoly with no Çalhanoğlu. Young Boys is a pretty good matchup. I think he's worth the pay up for sure. And Alexander Arnold, I think you can make the same argument for. I know he's splitting sets, but he's always got a bit of upside in him, and he's been pretty good lately. I know he was not great against Bologna, but I'm still super tempted by him. Robertson is all right. I just put him a tier below DeMarco and Alexander Arnold. Rico Lewis, like he's kind of your GPP upside Man City defender. He was it wasn't projected. He plays further forward than a defender, which is pretty interesting. I just prefer kind of your safer set piece taking options over him in cash at least, but in GPP in play for sure. And because I'm so interested in those payups, like the mid-range and low-range defenders are not quite as interesting to me. I think Small potentially takes if he's in. I don't mind that. And then other than that, I'm trying to find like some okay. Hugo Bueno, I think is an all right punt. Geertruida is an all right punt. I want to say if he's at right back or wing back even. But yeah, I'm not gonna like any of these punts are fine really if they make the rest of your build work as always. They're just there for value. But like I said, I really like these top end defenders in Trent and DeMarco. And as for core, DeMarco, Holland, and I think Trent. Honestly, I think I would just run that. You can still cram a Foden in here. It's doable. You have to get a little bit creative with the rest of your build. Play like one of these mid-range forwards and probably like a punt mid. But it's doable for sure. But yeah, that'll be it, guys. Interesting slate. And I'll see you for the next video. Peace.